Hey guys, so here we are in part. We're still in step number two, but this time we're going to be looking at conversion costs. Again, I just thought it would be a little bit better to break up the video so you weren't watching a 30-minute video a 30-minute video, I guess. All right, so again, I am using the demonstration worksheet that you can find, and then also the PowerPoint. So if you guys give me a second, I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll get going again. All right, so here we are in step number two. We're computing the equivalent units of production, specifically for conversion costs. So to calculate equivalent units for conversion costs, it is necessary to know how direct labor and factory overhead is entered during the process, the manufacturing process. All right, so just as a reminder, let's talk about what makes up conversion costs. So conversion cost is made up of both direct labor and factory overhead. All right. So again, factory overhead is all of your indirect materials, indirect labor, right? It includes your utilities. It includes your depreciation on the equipment. Okay. So again, we're looking at, say, the mixing department. Okay. And so we're talking about how am I applying this direct labor and factory overhead, also known as conversion costs, in making the ice cream, okay? So when you were watching a video, the way it happened is it took us 5 minutes, it took us 5 minutes to make ice cream, right? But during that 5 minutes, in all of that time, the guy was shaking the ice cream, so that required direct labor. And then he was also using utilities, right? So throughout that 5 minutes, all of the direct labor was being applied evenly throughout the process, okay? So now we're gonna take that same concept and now apply it to what we have here. So if I'm looking at my step two of the process, I have here fixed my equivalent units in regards to direct materials. But here I am looking specifically at conversion costs, right? So here's my cost of production report where we're getting most of our information from. So we always start off with the same question: what percentage of conversion costs is completed in July? Now that's very important because we're interested in the work that's done in the current period only, because again, we're preparing financial statements on a month-to-month basis. So I want to know what happened to the materials and conversion costs and all of that we touched in the mixing department for the month of July only. All right, so it says what percentage of conversion costs was completed in July? Well, here's where we're going to start. It says, the very top says inventory in process, meaning beginning work in process. We already know it was 5,000 gallons. But in regards to conversion costs, it says 70% was completed, meaning 70% was completed in June, which was the prior period. Now it's saying, well, how much more do you need to finish? How much more direct labor and factory overhead do you need to apply to these 5,000 gallons to get them complete? Okay, at completion, right? So if 100% represents completion, right? So if 100 represents completion and you did 70% in the prior period, then that means 30% is needed in the current period, right? So what we're going to do is say 30%. And again, we're trying to compare apples to oranges and bananas. So what we're going to do is compute the equivalent units. So we're going to do 5,000 units, which is here, 5,000 units a gallon times the 30% of more direct labor and factory overhead needed. And that amount will give me 1,500. Okay, so that's what I'm going to put there. All right, so what I started and completed in the current period. So this kind of goes back to what we talked about in direct materials. If I started and completed 57,000 gallons in the current period, that means that I have added 100% of the conversion costs. If they're started and completely done, that means it's all done. So for me, again, the key word being started and completed, it's 100% complete in regards to all of the direct labor and all of the factory overhead. Okay, so if I did 100% times the 57,000 gallons, that will give me 57,000. All right, now last but not least, we have work in process ending, the 3,000 units, right? The 3,000 gallons, right? So the next question we're asking, again, the same question: what percentage of conversion costs was completed in July? Now we're going to get that information from here. So it says inventory in process as of July 31st, right? Here's my July 31st. They said conversion costs 25% was completed as to conversion costs, meaning they have applied a good like 25%, but that also means that 75% of conversion costs will be applied in the following period, which is August, right? So we only want to account for what happened this period, right? So for us, the way we're going to do that is we're going to say, again, take that 25%. So we're going to do 25% times the 3,000 units here, 3,000 gallons, times 25%, and that will give us 75%. I mean, 750, sorry. Okay. So they'll come up with our total equivalent units in terms of conversion costs. That will give us 59,250. And the way I get that number is I'm going to add this. Oops. If it lets me say circle, this plus this. Okay. Well, you guys get what I'm saying. This plus this equals the 59,250 equivalent units. Okay. So this represents everything. At this point, I have converted my, apples, oranges, and bananas all into a common language now. And so now in step 3, I am now going to apply, I'm going to do the next step and apply, come up with a rate. That's what I'm trying to get at. So step 3 is determine the cost per equivalent unit. So I'm going to end this video and we're going to dive into step 3 in a second. Okay.